Yo, what's up guys, Biscuit Boy here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over a tournament I recently took part in. This was a standard 3-on-3 deck tournament. It plays up to 4 points, but there was a slight twist. Instead of your usual Swiss format, each individual has 5 lives and 10 rounds, meaning for every round you lose, that's 1 life deducted from your total 5. It's an endurance based tournament with the top 8 being individuals who last the longest. So even if a person only has 1 life left, they can still place in the top 8 as long as they outlast everyone else. Now that we've clarified the rules, let's check out how I managed to once again top in another tournament. So the venue for this place is Zombies Cafe, which if you haven't checked out my last video, you definitely should, as I took part in a tournament with the Blade X luck format and showcased how I topped using a randomized deck. So for this tournament, I'm currently running my full meta deck, which I don't think I've properly showcased in the video yet. It consists of Wizard Rod 360 Ball, Cobalt Dragoon Black Coat on 960 Elevate, and finally Aero Pegasus 560 Level. When thinking of a deck, you have to account for the entirety of your team as opposed to singular base, as ideally Rod functions best on 960, but this is currently on my Dragoon as 960 offers better LED and stamina than ratchets like 560, whilst also having the highest burst resistance, which is essential since Elevate is super bursty. However, what works for me may not necessarily work for you, so it's always important to play around with parts to find out what best suits your playstyle. I want to clarify that I will not be showcasing the entirety of my matches, but rather the highlights, so in particular my wins and any noteworthy losses. In my first matchup is Rod vs Rod. Mine is of course the golden one and I'm on ball and I get a massive hit on my enemy that causes them to ricochet off the stadium wall, leading them to tilt over and lose to me by 1 point with a spin finish. It's good to note that I'm currently playing against Boy, who's the joint organizer of this event alongside Armani. But back to this matchup, it's Aero vs Drumbuster, and in all out attacks, Drumbuster definitely has more explosive power due to its asymmetrical shape. However, since it's heavily unbalanced, it doesn't have the best stamina, so if it can't KO me right off the bat, my Aero Pegasus can easily outstamina it, securing me with an additional 1 point. After the reshuffle, I go with Cobalt Dragoon. However, my opponent's Drumbuster actively counters Dragoon's ability to spin steal due to Drumbuster's odd shape. To win this, my Dragoon has to play offensively. So after winning my first match, I just went around and I was taking a look at other people's playstyles and their matches. For my second match of the day, I'm playing against a blader named Zoinks. I lead with Cobalt Dragoon, but his Impact Drake manages to burst me right away. But in this instance, my Wizard Rod manages to pull off a rare series of extreme dashes that pockets his blade. Next up is an Aero Pegasus mirror match. I'm using Level for my combo, whereas I believe he's using Rush. Rush offers more attack power, but Level offers more stamina, so in theory, I should be able to secure a spin finish provided nobody gets pocketed or extremed. My camera does almost fall over, but this doesn't take away from the intensity of this matchup. However, for whatever reason, my Bay loses out, most likely from a weak launch on my behalf. After another reshuffle, I played Wizard Rod, when in hindsight, I probably should have played Dragoon as I had already seen his deck, of which none of them directly counter its spin stealing ability, so when he pocketed my Rod with Aero, it was a mistake that costed me the match. So after suffering my first loss of the day, I checked out his other bays and surprisingly I saw the white Drumbuster blade, which I've actually never seen in person before, so that was really cool. So next up, I'm facing Chris. I'm leading with Cobalt Dragoon as that's my favourite bay, and he leads off with Samurai Sabre on Hexa. Both my Dragoon's Elevate bit and his Samurai Sabre's Hexa bit provide great LED, so if this leads to a drawn out LED battle, it'll be exciting to see who wins. But after a prolonged battle, my Dragoon on Elevate takes the point with a spin finish, proving it's superior. So for this match, I did actually attempt to do a reverse X dash, but his Aero interrupts my Wizard Rod, leading to a cool interaction where Rod pockets Aero. Up next, it was once again a reshuffle and I led with Dragoon and Chris plays Aero on Level. And since Aero Pegasus is quite an offensive blade, it can deliver high impacts, which is particularly dangerous for my Dragoon on Elevate, as Elevate tends to be quite burst prone. So to compensate, I'm using Dragoon on 960 as that has the highest burst resistance out of all the ratchets currently. This way, I can launch with certainty knowing I most probably won't get burst, allowing for higher spin finish rates. Now for a few words from Chris.
Welcome to my BEYBLADE Emporium.
So Chris actually produces a lot of launch accessories like double connector grips and slip grips, and I'm personally going to be picking up a dragon grip from him next time I see him, but from my understanding he doesn't currently have an online shop. But for anyone in our small Beyblading community who's watching, do definitely check out his shop next time he's there, as a lot of our top bladers actually use his products, of which are of top quality. Next up, I'm playing against Ray, who's using the blue Barcelona drum buster. I think I distinctly remember him telling me how much he loves Barcelona, which makes sense since he's using the Barcelona drum buster blade. But if you didn't know, last video I played against Ray and got absolutely crushed, so this is finally my chance for a get back. But my Dragoon, which heavily relies on endgame tactics on outspinning opponents, is unable to spin steal off Drumbuster's unbalanced blade, which causes me to lose the first round. I send out Wizard Rod next, and now it's his turn to use Dragoon. In theory, Wizard Rod on Bull has more stamina than Dragoon on Elevate, but since Dragoon spins to the left, it can equalize spin strength with Rod, and since Bull has a relatively small surface area, I'm actually put at a disadvantage playing against Dragoon since Elevate has massive surface area for life after death. This typically leads to matchups where Rod ends up tilting, but on this occasion my tilts end up knocking Dragoon over for a spin finish. Blink and you'll miss it. My arrow literally grew wings and took flight out the top of the stadium, costing me 1 point. Check out my reverse X dash. I can't lie, ever since learning this, I've been spamming these so much recently, but it wasn't necessary for this matchup though, but I did take precautionary measures just in case, as this golem is using Hexa, which if hard launched can catch the X rail and behave quite offensively. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Luckily Bull offers more stamina than Hexa, so I luckily take a spin finish. I was not satisfied with this outcome at all. Although I did win, on the replay his Bey just barely dinks mine before self KOing, so although I did win, it didn't feel satisfactory enough. So with 3 wins and 1 loss, and with it being the middle of the day and I had still yet to eat anything, I thought I'd treat myself to some chicken and chips with Parmesan cheese. I honestly might have to change this video into a mukbang of chicken and chips because I was out here giving full course reviews. After satiating my hunger, I'm faced against Blue, who in previous videos I've had struggles facing against in the past. I'm using Dragoon and he's using Phoenix Wing, and this matchup created one of the most beautiful interactions between a left rotating Bey and a right rotating Bey, with how they completely mirror their movements to clash head on in battle. I do manage to get the spin finish on Phoenix Wing though at the very end. Arrow versus arrow matchups will always be insane to me. Here he ends up pocketing me, but then my Bey actually ends up flipping itself out and he ends up pocketing himself, so I actually end up taking the 2 points. One thing to note about Dragoon is if you are ever in a Dragoon mirror matchup, never be the first one to launch super aggressively. 9 out of 10 times you'll either burst, self KO, or expend all your stamina on the extreme rail like Blue did, which in this case resulted in me winning this round as I have a more controlled launch, so I had more stamina. So after yet another win, I took a round, took a wee gander, looked at other people playing. I was watching Oasis play because on the challenge, I'm playing her next, so I need to scout out what Bey she's using. Next up, I'm playing against Oasis, a scary opponent. Last video, I lost to her twice, and when I say her skill with Shark, it's actually insane. But I'm using my staple Bey. My Dragoon is taking hit after hit, a barrage of attacks, and still yet to burst. It's looking like I'll get a spin finish on this one too. Can I? And yes, I do. I literally just launched my arrow and she just pockets it right off the bat. I stood no chance. For this round, I saw that she was using a Phoenix Wing, so an attack type, so I tried doing a reverse X dash, and it does successfully work for a little bit, but then she does manage to knock me out of that corner. In BEYBLADE X, stamina types are usually weak to attack types, but in this instance, because I'm using Wizard Rod and Wizard Rod is so wide and just dominates the meta in general, Rod does Rod things and manages to win. Now back on the reshuffle, I'm using Dragoon and she's using Shark Edge, and some people forget that Dragoon can play offensively too, which is what I think is the perfect Bey, especially in terms of versatility. As much as I love Blue, I had to shout out Ree because he's one of my Filipino bladers, and his cousin in the background, I think his name's Charlie, they were smashing it this whole entire tournament, just doing crazy, man. My next matchup, I'm playing against Omani and he's using his Tyranno Roar. I know he loves his Tyranno Roar, I love my Cobalt Dragoon. Thought this was such a sick matchup. Dragon versus Dinosaur. Who would take this one? My Dragoon plays very offensively and manages to get the pocket. Sticking with the dinosaur motif, he continues on with Tyranno Beat. I'm using Aero Pegasus. Now you can't actually see it due to the camera angle, but I did actually extreme finish him, only for him to jump right back out. But that huge impact against the stadium definitely drains the stamina enough for him to run out of gas and for me to get the spin finish. Now it's Rod v Rod, we're both using the Bull combo, and here is a prime example of when not to use the reverse X dash. As you can see, I have been spamming the hell out of the reverse X dash this whole tournament, and because it's a stamina versus stamina matchup, I technically should not have been reverse X dashing as I have been. It's only really effective against attack types, so you can drain their stamina, but the technique also takes a toll on your blade as well, so that was my big mistake. Now after the reshuffle, I go with my staple bay, Cobalt Dragoon, and he goes with his staple bay, Tyranno Raw. And the great thing that I love about Cobalt Dragoon is even if you don't necessarily get the pocket or even the extreme finish, you're basically guaranteed the spin finish, especially because of its spin stealing ability, unless you're playing against a hard counter like Wizard Rod on Hexa or something like that. This was fun as I got to judge this match.
Nice.
Don't forget, you can extreme.
Are you guys happy with sides?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go shoot. On time.
Now I'm actually playing against a personal rival of mine, Gov, and as you can see right here, my Wizard Rod flings him at the stadium and I'm completely unfazed. Dragoon versus Golem Rock on, I believe, Low Rush. You don't really see too many of these. I feel like they have been coming out a lot recently though. I've seen people use this way more than they have been as of late. And it's actually a solid attack type combo, I will say. It's genuinely very, very good. If you haven't used it, definitely give it a go. I still get the spin finish though. When playing against Wizard Rod users and you're on an attack type combo, if you can predict where they're going to launch, you have a higher chance of winning. I'm not gonna lie, I just want to show off my case. As you can see, I'm trying to get all different color Beyblades. Next up, I'm trying to get the green Croc Crunch. I just feel like that looks so cool alongside my blades. And maybe even the orange Phoenix, not Phoenix Wing, Phoenix Feather though. But yeah, I think that would just go so crazy. Right now, I'm playing against Richard, otherwise known as Solical, and he starts off with Cobalt Dragoon, and I actually start off with my Aero Pegasus and I get the burst. As a reminder, I am only showcasing my highlights and any noticeable losses, but for this matchup, we had a reshuffle and we're both using Cobalt Dragoon, and I'm very confident in my Cobalt Dragoon abilities. I think this is my staple bay, I know how to use it the best, and I think in mirror matches, majority of my games, I always win. The only person I've lost to is Baymax, so I'm coming after you next. This matchup was crazy, both using Aero Pegasus on Aero Pegasus. I know Richard loves Aero Pegasus, but sadly for him, I just burst his. Honestly, I have no idea what's up with me today, but I used my Cobalt Dragoon and I just flung him right at the stadium. Once again, unfazed. Because I'm playing against an attack type, I do try to do the reverse X dash again, but he manages to intercept me during his launch. But for this, I do manage to dodge him a couple times, but then he smacks into me. But the way that we were both interacting with our bays, I was just hitting him in all the right places, pause, and he manages to start tilting over like crazy, and this leads him to start scraping against the stadium. He starts losing a lot more stamina. I have so much stamina and I get the spin finish. So currently I have gone undefeated with the exception of one loss to Zoinks, but these past battles have been playing against the top 8, so we're nearing the semi-finals at this point. In fact, right before semi-finals, I once again play against Gov, and I'm using my Aero Pegasus. He's using his Wizard Rod. He loves his Wizard Rod. I know that's his favorite bay. He likes to play on Hexa, but it doesn't stop me from extreme landing him. Note that I'm actually playing on the side that I'm not that used to. It's my least favorite side, I think the B side. I like to play on the X side. It does make a difference what side you like. Everybody has a different preference, but my preference is the X side because it allows me to do reverse X dashes. But either way, I still managed to get the spin finish. This isn't my preferred side of the stadium on TT, but on Hasbro it is. So my practice on a Hasbro actually helped translate over to TT. So I haven't actually been showcasing any of the scores, but at this point it was 6-6. We had a reshuffle as well. I was fully aware that he was going to throw out Wizard Rod on Hexa, which is a hard counter to Cobalt Dragoon on Elevate. However, Cobalt Dragoon on Elevate is my staple bay, so you know I had to stay true to my partner. 9 out of 10 times, Wizard Rod on Hexa does usually outspin Cobalt Dragoon on Elevate, but those odds do not stop me from getting the win. So for clarification about something I probably should have mentioned before, these past couple matches that you've been watching have been played against the top 8, which means that they will now be played up to 7 points as opposed to the usual 4, and next up I'm playing against Blue. So for this, we start off both with Cobalt Dragoon, both left spin bays. I'm very confident in my ability with Dragoon, so I'm very sure that I will not lose this match. His is moving like a madman. He does whack me onto the extreme line at some point as well though. Not as much as him though. And if you remember my advice on how to use Cobalt Dragoon, you want a strong but controlled launch. One that doesn't extreme line itself too much, but one that has enough stamina to outspin your opponent. For this, I just got very unlucky. I am using my Wizard Rod. I do try to reverse X dash again, and you can see I almost do, but then he manages to clip me and then finally burst me after. Don't forget that attack types can also use the reverse X dash, which leads to what's known as a drop launch or a tungsten launch, and you can see it builds up an explosive power and then pockets his Wizard Rod. You can actually see the different playstyles and how we both launch. When I launch, mine's a lot more controlled, a lot more slow. When Blue launches, he tries to fling it onto the X rail as well, which results in his Beyblade moving a lot more aggressively, but even then, I still managed to pocket him. Next up, we're both using Wizard Rod. I'm using Ball, he's using Underneedle. I really want to get my hands on an Underneedle bit, as I think it's probably the go-to bit for Wizard Rod currently, but I catch the Extreme Line and Extreme Finish him. So something I just quickly want to restate is that this tournament functions on a life basis. This means everyone has 5 lives each, with it being a battle of endurance where only the top 8 are those who haven't expended all their lives yet. We're currently moving on to the semi-finals, with the top 3 bladers left being me, Gov and Blue, as we're the only ones left with lives left. I currently have 4 lives left, only losing 1 back to Zoinks, who is no longer in this tournament. Gov has 2 lives left and Blue has 1 life left. The picture showcased here is actually taken from prior to the top 8 battles, as due to the setup on Challenge, the organisers couldn't publicise the top 8 brackets on the app, so I had to do so physically, of which I couldn't get a picture of. But just know that it's me, Gov and Blue left, where we played rock paper scissors to decide who'd be playing first. Gov was the odd one out, leading me to face against Blue once again. Right off the bat, it's a Dragoon versus Dragoon matchup. These are interesting to watch, but now that we've covered this matchup so many times, it's become rinsed. I did actually overpower my launch. As you can see, my bay is gliding a lot more, just overall moving a lot more aggressively. On the other hand, Blue seems to have taken notes with a more controlled launch that stabilizes his Dragoon a lot better than mine. So it's looking like I'll lose this to a spin finish. But at the end of the day, this is why I always record my matchups, because there's always room for improvement. Analysing my past battles and seeing my slip-ups and mistakes will only make me a better blader later down the line. Now it's time for Rod versus Rod. I'm using Ball and once again he's using Noodle. I feel like Needle does have better stamina than Ball. Only downside I will say is it tilts like crazy, and I genuinely thought I was gonna win this. Like, can you not see? And then bam, I just burst. Like, he just managed to get the recoil on me and I just burst like crazy. After reshuffling, it's Dragoon versus Dragoon again. I had a very solid launch, and even looking back on this matches, I can see Blue has improved his launch too, as it seems he's no longer mindlessly launching at full strength, but actually having more controlled launches. His bay does occasionally lock me onto the extreme line a couple of times, but I still have enough stamina at the end to outspin him, once again reasserting myself as the better Dragoon user. You can actually just tell that my favourite bay is Dragoon because I'm always throwing it out, but for this matchup it's Dragoon versus Aero Pegasus. He's using a low rush on his Pegasus, and it just seems like if he can't knock me out straight off the bat, then I'm just going to win this with a spin finish, but he's already drained all his stamina, so it is looking currently like I'm going to get the spin finish on him. But not only am I good with Dragoon, I feel like I'm also pretty solid with Aero Pegasus on level as well. It's a very good counter to Dragoon as well. Occasionally you can actually get the spin finish on Dragoon with level, even if Dragoon's on elevate, as you see right here. Yeah, and I do just start clinking him, I'm circling him, and it seems like we're both running out of stamina at this point, but I'm equalizing with him as he's equalizing with me, and I get the spin finish. He did actually get his Aero Pegasus freshly today, so the metal hasn't yet rounded off, making it very recoily and even extreme finishing me, making me lose one of my 4 lives against him. We actually did rock paper scissors again, and it's now Gov versus Blue. I was the odd one out this time, and Blue only has 1 life left, Gov has 2, and it looks like Gov has just taken the win, so blue is out. From here on out, it's just going to be me versus Gov content. He leads with Phoenix and I lead with Dragoon, both 2 great blades that are dominating the meta right now. Phoenix is known for its attack potential, which you can clearly see here when he pockets me. Gov is actually on a roll right now as I launched my Wizard Rod and he just straight away pockets me as well. But that doesn't mean I can't bite back, and I use my Corbeau Dragoon and then I proceed to pocket him. This is why I love 7-point battles, because it gives you a chance to actually make a comeback, because right now it's 4-2, but I quickly make it 4-4 with this pocket. Analyzing this battle, you can actually see he heavily tilts his Bey, which actually leads to my downfall as it bursts me. So because I actually lost my battle against blue, I'm on 3 lives, and because I just lost that against Gov, I'm on 2 lives and he's also on 2 lives, putting us on equal footing. This is my chance to make a comeback though, as I lead with my Aero Pegasus and I quickly get an easy pocket. At this point my camera actually dies, so I'm actually using Gov's camera right now, and we have made contact and he extreme finishes himself. And then soon after, my staple Dragoon follows suit by extreme finishing his Phoenix Wing. I very quickly taken back the lead, now putting me on 2 lives and him on 1 life. If I can keep this up, then I'll win. For this match, I'm using Aero Pegasus and he's using Phoenix Wing, but his Koro Phoenix Wing has a newer mode which actually potentially makes it heavier than Aero at times. He's running Phoenix on rush or low rush, and I'm on level, giving me more balanced gameplay in contrast to his all-out attack build. But even though I have the extra stamina offered by level, he still somehow manages to outspin me, which was actually just crazy. I genuinely don't know how he did this. Maybe I just had a weak launch, I don't know. Rod versus Golem, both solid bays. My Rod's on Bull, stamina type. His Golem's on, I think, rush or low rush, making his very attack prone. And in terms of typing, he does actually have the advantage, but because Wizard Rod is just so good, you already know I get an easy spin finish. When I say this Bey is actually the bane of my existence, bro. Like, his Rod on Hexa is just way too good. And even on the reshuffle, we did the same matchups again, and bro, he just blew me out of the flipping arena, bro. When I say Gov might actually be one of the best Wizard Rod users, especially on Hexa, because even right now he manages to extreme finish me. I'm not even gonna lie, at this point I was actually stressing, bro. I was in the lead by 4 lives and he had 2 lives, but then I got knocked down and now, bro, it's 1-1. It's literally neck and neck. It could literally go any way. So let's just see what happens. Do I win? Does Gov win? Let's find out right now. This time I lead with Aero Pegasus and he leads with Wizard Rod on Hexa as usual. I know he just loves that Bey. I did actually switch up this time, but he still pockets me even though I changed tactics. And for this one, I use Corbeau Dragoon and I get boomed. I literally got extreme finish right off the bat. And then now it's Wizard Rod versus his Phoenix Wing. Can I make a comeback? Let's just see. Unfortunately, I just got super unlucky. I got bursted and I didn't even score a single point against him this round. So that really just goes to show sometimes you win some and sometimes you lose some. But I'm still really happy I played at the end of the day. But props to the other two, Gov for placing first and for blue for placing third. I did place second, which means that I believe I received £30 or it might have been £40. I think it was probably £30 because I believe first place received £50 and I'm not even sure what blue got. I think it was like £15 or something like that. But I do sincerely hope that you guys did enjoy this video. I wasn't able to get first place this time, but there's always next time. I am actually slowly climbing up the leaderboard on the BBX ranking. I think prior to this I was 28th, but then I shot up to 19th after this. So I am making progress. I'm trying to get into the top 3 or even, you know, place first, but we'll see how it goes. But anyways, please like, subscribe, and also leave a comment down below letting me know what you liked or disliked about this video. That would be very greatly appreciated. I don't really have much else to say, but thank you for watching. Bye.